Hi everyone. Today we will be talking about boarding schools or colleges in the UK, and especially focusing on arts education with Mrs Candida Cave, principal of Hampstead Fine Arts College in London. Hi Candida, thank you for joining me.
Good morning. Very nice to be here.
I will start asking you to introduce yourself and, of course, the school you work in and your experience in that.
Okay, so I am the founding principal of Fine Arts College, which is in Hampstead. We started more than 40 years ago, and the reason why we started the college was so that we could give students an equal balance in both the academic and the creative subjects. So students have come to us over the years, are with us now, who want to go on to study art, or people who want to go on to study fashion, or people who want to go on to study English or architecture, or the classics. So we are an arts college, but at the same time, we're also an academic college. I guess the root of, or the basis of our ethos is that we believe if students are happy, if they are doing a balanced curriculum, so that includes both the academic and the creative, they will do well. And students do extremely well here. We have regularly students going to Oxbridge, to Russell Group universities, to UAL, very much Central St Martin's or Chelsea. They go to the top places. This year, our portfolio course has now changed to be a foundation course. And the foundation course is actually accredited by UAL. So a student who comes to us has a much more personalized art education than they would if they actually went to UAL. But they come out with the same certificate, the same qualification. Now that is great for international students because international students, when they come to London, if they come from Italy, they possibly have visited before once or twice, or maybe even more than that, but they don't really know London. And London can be a daunting place. It's magnificent, but it's also daunting. So for students to be in a group of 20, not in a group of 1,000, which is what happens at Central St Martin's, but to be in a group of 20, where they have personal tuition and they also are introduced to London. So our students, our foundation course students, go every week to exhibitions, to artist studios. We also organize a program for them, which is taking them to the theatre, taking them to see films, so that taking them to the Houses of Parliament, so they actually understand what it is to be a student in London. So for the foundation course, it's brilliant. They spend a year with us. They then go to do their degrees at, they may go to the Slade in London, they may go to the Ruskin, Oxford, or they will go to one of the top arts universities. So that's for the foundation course. For the A-levels, they change their mind. They come to us and they really want to be a fashion designer. So, and they just want to do art and fashion. But we say, no, actually, you have to do academic subjects too, A-levels, which are different from the IB or the Italian qualifications, but we suggest that students do 4 A levels, and 2 of those should be academic. So if they want to be a fashion designer, for example, they would do fashion A level, art A level, art history A level, and then one more, which could be for Italian students, classical civilization is quite often very popular because in Italy, I think the education system gives a very firm foundation in the knowledge of the Greek and especially the Roman art and philosophy and literature. So they sometimes do that. They will sometimes do a subject like sociology or psychology. It depends on their English. So if students are wanting to study A levels with us, it's a 2-year program, and we expect the English to be around 5 IELTS. That's sort of when they start. When they finish, they will be around 6.5 for them to go on to a good degree course. If they want to go to Oxbridge, it has to be a bit higher, 7 or 7.5. For the foundation course, though, students are older. They are usually 18. They have finished their high school education, whether it's in England, whether it's in Italy, whether it's in America, New Zealand, it doesn't matter, but they finish that. We then specify that the minimum IELTS is 4. That is what UAL, Central St Martin, asked for their foundation course, so we're in line with them. So that gives you a little bit of an idea how we approach the education of students from 16, 17, 18, 19, those sort of age groups. We do have younger students, and we have had some lovely Italian younger students, but we don't like them to live in host families, really. They have to be living with their parents or with a relative. I mean, I think they get too lonely otherwise. So our international provision really is focused on 16 plus.
Well, you anticipated like a few questions that I would have, which is like, for example, why the school doesn't only offer arts-related subjects, when you said that the aim is to give them also another kind of preparation, not just arts and practical and design. And I think it's really important because you need to know, I would say, theory, like classical arts, but maybe even science. I mean, everything is important to give um, ideas and structure to your creativity. Probably that's the point. Um, I would like to do a little bit a step behind because, like, just for the ones listening to that, maybe not being familiar between the difference between like Italian school system and UK, which is like we have 5 years of high schools, and yes, we do have strict curriculum. So, like, we do have arts schools, or we other, and I think you know because you have already Italian students. Either
Yes.
you have like art-related curriculum or some other curriculum like science, humanities. Well, in the UK, I mean, there are 4 years, GCSEs the first 2 years, and then A levels or IB or BTEC the other 2 years. My question for you, and I would like you to explain, is I know that it is different if a student want to complete the A levels and go for, let's say, business, science, another degree, and they can go directly there, or
Yeah.
type of preparation that universities expect in the UK when it comes to architecture, art, design, fashion design? Because you mentioned the foundation, so like, would you like to give the context of why foundation exists? If students in creative A levels still need to do foundation, or
Yeah. Yeah. So, absolutely. Now, the foundation course in England really exists in the main for students who have not specialized at A level in the arts. So that if they have just done one subject, which is creative, that could be fashion, that could be art, that could be photography, they would need to build up a very good portfolio in that year, that foundation year, that enables them to then go on to study any of the creative subjects, whether it's graphics or illustration, etc., at degree level. But then beyond that, architecture you mentioned, and architecture is also a very important um, uh, pathway for us because students may want to do architecture, but they have not done physics. They are not particularly science-based. But if they do the foundation course with us, and if their maths is reasonable, they don't have to do maths A level, but it needs to be of a reasonable standard. They can apply and get into doing architecture with our foundation course. Okay, so the foundation course in terms of the university acceptance gives 2.5, the equivalent of 2.5 A levels in points. So a student could have been in Italy having taken the pathway to do academic subjects in Italy. And they get their high school diploma, which they've got and they've finished and they've done well, but they really want to do architecture or they want to do photography. They then come to us and they do that 1 year foundation course. We help them with their applications for degree courses, and they have everything they need. So I think that what the reason why we were very keen on making because for many years we've run it as a portfolio, but we wanted to have it accredited for two reasons. One, because it is much more straightforward for getting a visa for international students, so they can get that 1 year visa. But it's also the fact that students go straight into UAL from other countries and they're lost. They have very little tuition. They do not have their own space to work. Here, they have their own designated space for them to do their own work. And as I say, they see tutors morning and afternoon, and they're taught. They're not just left to create. They're taught the skills, and students need to be taught the skills.
Yeah, that's a good point because like the coming from high school and go to
Mhm.
university can make students get lost in every
Yes.
country, in every subject, because of course it's a different way of studying or creating in this case. Like you have to be really independent, really well organized,
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
also self-confident to go to your tutor and ask for things because the tutor is not coming to you, I expect.
Exactly. And because it's now so large that the numbers who are accepted onto the UAL course, that you probably only will see a tutor maybe if you're lucky once a day, and they're not there to guide you. So it's very good for British students, but it's even better, I think, for international students.
Generally speaking, not just UEL, but also, I mean, because there are also other very good universities and colleges.
Yeah.
level for arts and design and so on. What the UK universities look for in terms of like student applicants, like creativity, the type of student they look for? I know it's difficult to generalize, but just to give an idea.
Yeah, I think if they are wanting to do, say we take fashion, so uh, they need to know how to do fashion drawings.
Mm.
They need to know how to pattern cut. They need to know how to dye materials. They need a really good student knows how to weave. I mean, they will never learn the techniques at another foundation course. They will not learn the techniques when they go to degree course. So the more techniques they can show they have mastered, the student has mastered, that puts them in a much better position. The portfolio is the most important thing. A-levels are important, or high school diploma, the grades are important, but most important is the portfolio. Now, if a student comes to us for A-levels and they want to do art as one of their subjects, but they also want to do, say, psychology and history of art and maybe Latin. So the student then has the possibility of going straight from A-levels into a very good university to do the degree. The things to remember is that if the Italian student, for example, has the good marks in the diploma or their work until the age of 16, and then they come to us to do A-levels, they will still need to do IELTS for university. And that, as I say, will go from, if they want to go to Oxford or Cambridge, 7 or 7.5. If they want to go to a good but not such a prestigious university, it may be down to 6. But it needs to be good. So that if a student comes to us, and the students we've had from Italy, in the main, their English has been very good. But if it's not good enough, we give personalized lessons in terms of EAL.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, usually it's really important also to have at least an equivalent of 5.5 before A levels anyway, because it would be really difficult to study A levels.
If they're going to write essays, exactly.
Um, Generally, I mean, it's not on me to say because families know this already, but UK has a reputation for being a really good destination to study and work in creative industries, not just arts. Um, it is still like this, and why then families should consider UK to train their kids and then possibly work in creative industries.
Yeah, I think it is an extremely good destination. I think that London, especially, has so many large and small creative businesses, whether they are to do with graphic art or the media, because a number of our students go on to work in the media. So I say to parents, both British and international, 25 years ago, doing a creative subject, people would say to me, are difficult to get a job at the end. The opposite now. It's much more straightforward to get a job if you have the right training to be able to go straight into a job. So with international students, I would say that at least 50% of the students who apply to come here They are wanting to go to either UCL for academic subjects or UAL for creative subjects. They want to be in London. And I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing, but they really want to be in London. And many of them, do some sort of work while they're studying. So they might be working half a day on a Saturday, for example, in a gallery. They might be working half a day in a graphics production company. And this is also very good, I think, because it gives experience as they learn. Yeah.
Well, again, I was about to ask you, like, probably it's in the UK as well, but in Italy, well, I'm a career consultant too. So when it comes to helping students selecting what do you want to study, high schools or university and so on, it is sometimes a really difficult conversation between maybe students have two things in mind. One has to be, usually is creative, and one is like maybe science or business, which is seen as safe as an option.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't see it as safe. So that's the
Yeah.
reason why I still see it as safe. But
Yes.
the idea, and I want to know your opinion, is that studying creative subjects or arts and so on, it doesn't always mean that you are going to be an artist, not just
No,
this.
exactly, exactly.
So I would really like to touch this point and
Yes,
not.
yes. I think that is the thing that is the first consideration. When I interview a student, almost the first thing I ask, or certainly within the first 5 minutes, I ask them what their ideal career would be. And they might come up and say, I want to be an artist, or I want to be an actor, or I want to be a musician. So fine, it's their dream. And you go with their dream, but you make the dream practical. So, for example, if a student is really wanting to be, say, a painter, a fine artist, they will do fine art, but they also will do subjects that they will need if they're going to be an artist. So they do business studies A level, or if they're good at maths, some of our international students, especially from Asia, are pretty brilliant at maths, and so they do maths A level. And the fine art could also turn into doing architecture. So a very usual set of subjects for an international student who wants to do something in the arts is to do fine art. And then if they, for example, want to do illustration, they do fine art with graphics, with history of art, with maths. So you have the complete spread of that. And it also means that if halfway through their A levels, they think, actually, I want my art to be my hobby. I want to go to university. I want to do marketing, or I want to do international relations. Then what happens is that they, in their second year, they absolutely specialize in the history of art and the art and then the maths, so that they get those really high grades in the academic as well as in the creative.
And when it comes, and I mean, you are very well experienced principal, and well, I mean, you work with many people, I suppose, from different backgrounds. Do you think that even when a student completes the degree in a creative subject, but makes a decision not to work in that field, do you have transferable skills, like skills that they, creativity or things like that, that they can be applied in other fields, and how and when, so how they
Yeah,
can? about it.
Yes, very much so. I remember a student who was a really good art student, but he also was very academic. And he did his first degree at the Slade. And the Slade, to my mind, probably the best art college in England. At the end of that, he wanted his painting to be his hobby. He transferred and did the conversion. He's now a lawyer.
Yes.
So, you can, as long as you have, you have proved yourself to have got a really good degree, you can transfer things. And I think that's important for students to know, because what they decide to do at university, usually, I would say in more than 60% of cases, in all subjects, is not what they're going to end up doing for the rest of their life. But for me, I think that AI has become something that has really focused our brains, because AI can make very good assistants, but it has no imagination.
I was about to say that's another.
That is why doing creative subjects, thinking subjects, doing something like philosophy alongside doing a creative subject is really important. You have to have the imagination working.
Yeah. And probably because I mean creating a portfolio, but even like I'm a very, very hobbyist in art, like as an hobby. So aside of the mental health, like
Yes, yes. But
uh,
that's another very important point. Yeah,
I can see, like I studied classics and so on, and I can see that, I mean, the ability to be able to put together different source of like ideas or contents or information, it's really important because otherwise, I mean, there's not just even analyzing data. I mean, okay, you
yeah,
analyze
yeah,
like finances or science or everything else. But
yeah,
data, everything comes from how do you read them and
yeah.
how do you put them in context. So the creativity is not just painting, it's
Oh,
also
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
over
That, that,
underlooked.
yeah, that is exactly what we think. We think that, if you have if your imagination has been respected actually as much as anything else, and it's been allowed to develop and to grow, and that could be by doing English literature, or by doing, the classics like you did, or by doing any subject. If the imagination is a central part of that, you can transfer that to anything.
Yeah, I agree. And that would be the difference probably between like giving up some jobs and tasks to AI that you mentioned before and being able to use AI instead of being used.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. And I think that it is even more important now than it ever has been before to actually have this kind of liberal creative education. I mean, we call our students, even our A-level students, we see them as pre-university. Everybody who comes to us must have an aim to go on to higher education. And our job is to prepare them for higher education and for their career.
Yeah. Do you think that AI, I mean, there's a lot of conversation I've been following myself, like about AI, I mean, how easy it is now to generate images and things. Uh,
Yeah,
AI, so like who needs photographers, artists, and graphic design?
yeah, yeah.
Do you think it's a tool or it's more a threat or something like which is your
Yeah, yeah, it's good. That's a really good question. I think we have to use it as a tool. We can't say it doesn't exist. And in the same way, when computers came about and suddenly, you can do things on computer that you used to do by hand. However, even they have discovered that even if you use a computer to write on, it does not train your brain as well as if you write by hand. So it's really giving our job, I think, is to give our students the tools to be able to think for themselves, to think beyond what they've been taught.
Mhm. Yeah. Again, not to be used, but to like it's yeah, I know that, but like writing by hand gives you a different like learning
Yeah,
as
yeah,
also drawing like
oh,
drawing, yeah,
totally.
it's different than
Yeah. Yeah,
generating.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, and I think that slowly people are coming to realize that this is what we offer in education is not just for students who are from 16 to 19. It takes them through their 20s, their 30s, their 40s. And it means that if they are in a particular job until they're, say, 35, and they want to have a career change, they should be able to, because they have the wherewithal to navigate that.
And also the trust on themselves and the
Exactly,
awareness that they,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. I think so. And that is what I think is very good about um, uh, A levels, English education like that, because in England, the majority of people do A levels, but some do the IB, where you have 6 subjects and then the add-ons, the extras, the community service. It's a very good qualification, but you cannot get into the same depth
Yeah.
as you can with A levels. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my approach usually as an educational consultant. It's like trying to get which one of the two, even the three. I mean, if we come to pupils, which is the one more suitable for the students
Yeah.
that studies
Yeah.
instead
Yeah.
of saying just this or that, because not everyone is the same, and
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
it's too much for some students, for example, or A level might be not enough. It depends.
Exactly, exactly. And some people are equally good at math, science, and then languages and philosophy. And so IB is very good. So, but I think that we find with fine arts that the people who come to us probably have had a desire to um, to be a performer or a creator from quite a young age. I think, I mean, if you see with young children, you have children who spend their time doing little drawings when they're 7, 8, 9, and you have the ones who want to build Lego. And it's all, I mean, of course they do both, but it's quite young
Yeah.
that people, um,
It was me. My nephew is like this when he's 4 years old. Then it's like he does a little bit of Lego, a little bit of drawing, and
yeah,
he likes to draw with me. And it's like sometimes I know he says, "This week I didn't color." Of course, at 4 years old, you don't really draw. So this
yeah,
week I did this. Like recently week. Recently I didn't draw enough. Let me.
yes, you see,
They feel that the thing that it's good for them to focus
yeah,
on.
yeah, exactly, exactly. No, I think that's very true.
Yeah. I have one final question for you, which is more personal, I would say, which is okay, like creative every industry, but especially probably creative industry, education, and as a business. I mean,
Yeah,
of course, facing and will face challenges again in the future.
yeah.
So, what keeps you motivated every day to come to school and find new ways to be relevant for students?
Um, for me, I really like young people. I love the fact that they're at that moment in their life when they're they're not blank canvases, but they're ready to learn. And if you inspire them, if you allow them to inspire you, the journey begins. And I think that for me, I guess around the age of 6, sometimes younger, with a few of our younger students, you see it. Um, they they begin to run. They begin to take what you offer them and they turn it into their own thing and grow with it. And yeah, students have changed over the last 40 years to some extent, but there are always the same familiar characters. So you have the students who are quite extrovert, but inside probably quite fragile. You have the students who want to be, they think they want to be outsiders, but they don't really. They want to be welcomed in. But each year, when we have the new batch of students, a few of us will say, "Oh, doesn't that remind you of so and so?" And that's 15 years ago or something. Yeah. We have a very good student body and parent body, and we also have a, a continuous line. So we have people who we taught 25 years ago whose children are here.
Mhm.
And we have that very nice long-standing communication. And the parent body is very supportive. They come and give talks to the students. We have some very successful parents, and they will come and talk about how they became successful in their careers, whether they're designers or actors, directors, Supreme Court lawyers. I mean, really high-level people who say, I was like you. This is how I started.
Yeah, I
So,
think that's really important because
yeah,
I mean, teenagers, I think today more than before, they really need to see adults as people. So like as like strengths and weaknesses, the difficulties and challenges that you faced. And I mean
yeah,
that one is weak at certain point of their life. Everyone makes mistakes and
yeah,
but you can still make it. So you can still find your way. That's really
yeah, exactly, exactly. So,
thank you very much for this conversation. It was really
oh,
interesting and inspiring. So, but thank you, Mrs. Cave. And again,
great pleasure. I really enjoyed talking to you. So thank you.
thank you very much.